Let's talk about the evolution of ERP. It's a concept we mentioned in another segment, enterprise resource planning, and it really grew up out of the manufacturing and engineering environment, where there was a need to manage the requirements planning of materials. So you had this concept of MRP, materials requirements planning. And in large manufacturing organizations where they had production lines and raw material in at one end and finished product out at the other end, you had to optimize the flow of that raw material, the value-adding steps along that conveyor belt to the raw material in a way that improved the efficiency and the productivity of that line. And once again, technology was employed to assist and to drive this efficiency. So where you were able to monitor on a single system the flow of raw materials, the trucks arriving at the warehouse with the raw materials, the coordination of the activities down that conveyor belt, whether it be hammering out widgets or placing tins in boxes and boxes in other boxes, or reconfiguring or assembling components. Often if those were done by robots or by humans, it didn't matter. But at each step, there would be inputs and outputs of that process that would feed back into this material requirements planning, which would touch on stock management and inventory and the replenishing and stock level management of those raw materials, so that you didn't store too much raw material and then had cost of working capital eating up your budget, but you didn't store too little that you ran out of a critical widget and stopped the whole production line. So that ability to coordinate the raw materials with the value-adding processes in a manufacturing and engineering environment was really where ERP grew up out of, because through MRP 1 and 2, and that was the evolution of those different systems, which are still at work today in those environments, and very successfully so, you then had the value add of saying, well, in the non-engineering or manufacturing components of that overall enterprise, such as HR, such as finance, such as procurement, accounts payables, accounts receivables, fixed assets, all of these management level components and functions could also then value from that integrated planning and resource management activities, which then showed the evolution from materials requirements planning to enterprise resource planning. So all the resources that needed to participate in the successful operation of an enterprise could then be hosted in a single platform, which today has the popular term of ERP. We've spoken about a couple of ERP vendors who manage this fairly well. And so in theory, any aspect of a large enterprise could be managed and supported and automated through an ERP system. Now, that's a fairly ambitious goal, and often those different areas have systems that have grown up for different reasons. So today's ERP activities are often not as purist in that sense of the word, but there are definitely examples where, from the engineering floor to the CEO's office, one system on an integrated platform with a single database manages all the processes, gives the IT department a much simpler architecture to support without a lot of interfaces between a whole lot of different systems, and thereby enriching and providing a common set of data that for management information and decision-making processes is far simpler and far more powerful, because you then don't have to go and source data from multiple systems to plug into different reports to give executives the data that they require. So you can optimize right through from the stock levels of your raw materials in your inventory on a distributed warehouse network through to head office and the salaries of those engineers on the floor, all coming off of the same set of financial books, feeding into a master general ledger, giving a single set of accounting books to the regulators, which provides for a much healthier organization. And one that I think many companies are waking up to realizing is better than a conglomerate of individually excellent systems, that may do a brilliant job of payroll and a brilliant job of managing a production line and a brilliant job of warehousing and inventory or fixed assets, but are separate in nature and need to be plugged together somehow, and who are mutually dependent on each other's databases, and creates a nightmare for the IT department and results in a nightmare for people who are trying to report on the activities of that company. That realization